Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining today. Hope everyone's doing really well. Hello. How are we all today? So, today we're going to be looking at a basic IELTS course. So, you're all here on this page because you're thinking about taking the IELTS exam. And today, hello, nice to join you. Today we're going to be looking at some of the different formats of IELTS exams and which one you need to choose, and very specifically, how to write an amazing letter in your general IELTS exam. Good, so good morning to everyone. Thanks so much for joining. So, a basic IELTS course, writing a letter. So my first question for you all today is, what is IELTS? What is IELTS? I'm going to give you the definition here. The International English Language Testing System, which is what IELTS stands for, measures the language proficiency of people who want to study or work where English is used as a language of communication. So normally in English-speaking countries. You can look up all the information, lots of useful information on www.ielts.org. Good. So you probably all know this already, but there are two types of tests. It's very important to know. There are two types of tests. The first type of test is IELTS Academic. IELTS Academic is for people applying for higher educational or professional registration in an English-speaking environment. So for people who want to go to university in English-speaking countries. In the test, you will be tested on academic language and essentially whether you are ready to begin studying or training. Okay? So you need to check with your specific university if IELTS Academic is the right test for your university. But if it is, then you will not be taking the IELTS General. You would have to take the IELTS Academic. Okay, the IELTS General is a test of much more general English. It's not academic. And it's for people either who are going to English-speaking countries for secondary education, work experience or training programs. And the biggest reason why people take it is for migrating to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the UK. Okay, so the IELTS General's taken by thousands of people every day because it is a requirement for migration to those countries. And the test focuses on basic and general English in everyday life. So in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at IELTS General. Okay, so this is for people who have now decided to take the IELTS General test. Maybe you're going for secondary education, or you want to go to London, New Zealand, Australia, or Canada. Lovely pictures here. And you've decided you need to take the general test. Okay, so the next question for you is, how should you prepare? How should you prepare? The most important thing is you need to understand how the IELTS test is structured. Okay, so you need to be very familiar with the format of the test. Some of you may know this already, that's fine, but it's just very useful to understand in detail how the test is formatted. So I'm sorry if I'm repeating this for some people, but it's just so useful to know, okay? So you'll start with your listening, 30 minutes. You'll listen to 4 recordings and you'll have some different sections. Then you'll go into reading, 60 minutes. Now, there are 3 different sections in your reading. The topics are social survival, workplace survival, and general reading. You'll answer 40 questions in total, and you have 60 minutes to do that. Okay, then we move on to writing. You have 60 minutes for your writing, and there are 2 tasks. Task 1 is a formal or informal letter, and task 2 is an essay. It doesn't say this here, but task 1 is minimum 150 words, task 2 is minimum 250. Okay, so it's actually not very long, and you have an hour to write it. So it's plenty of time. If you've planned and prepared, nothing to worry about. Then at the end, this is the bit that everyone gets worried about, but you don't need to worry. Just go in prepared, do lots of preparation, and you'll be absolutely fine. 11 to 14 minutes, 3 parts. You have an introduction. Actually, you can't see this bit. You have an introduction, then an interview, and long term, so you do a kind of monologue, and then a discussion. Okay, so let's get back to the presentation. Good. So today we're going to be looking at the writing task for General IELTS. So we'll be looking at writing task 1. Can you remember what writing task 1 was? That's right. It is writing a letter. Writing a letter. You probably do this every day without realizing, on text or anything. These are the skills of communicating with people. Okay, the IELTS just wants to test whether you can communicate what you want to say in professional English. So I'm going to give you some of the best tips on how to get a really great score when writing a letter. So how to write an amazing letter. The most important thing is planning your time. You have 20 minutes for this section. So don't just start straight away, look at the question, okay, scribble, 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 and then you've got 10 minutes left and you think, oh no, my letter's really complicated, it's a bit unclear, I need to start again. That is not a good technique when you're writing a letter. It's so important to plan your time and plan your letter. So this is just an example of the kind of time you can spend in those 20 minutes, right? This is what I would do. If I was sitting at IELTS, I'd spend 2 minutes reading the instructions. So you get little instructions, highlight key points. With your pen or pencil, you can bring in colours. Identify the type of letter you need to write. This is very important. We're going to speak about this a bit more in a minute. Okay, first 2 minutes. Then 6 minutes, or actually even longer, plan your structure and the main points. Yeah, plan the structure. So this is an example structure. Start with a greeting. Dear Sir, Madam, if it's formal, or hi, Tom, if it's a friend. Greeting. Introduction. Very brief sentence. The description of your situation. A solution. So what do you want to change? What's your solution? And a conclusion. Okay, so in this plan, you're going to take 6 minutes or even longer to write out your main points, main phrases for each section. Okay, then you've got 12 minutes or maybe 10 minutes if you've spent a longer time on the plan to write your letter. This now actually should be the easiest bit because you've already written a detailed plan. So your plan should already have your main ideas. So this should actually be the easy bit. Yeah? This is how I would plan my time. Now we're going to look at more detail at one example of a past paper IELTS exam. And we're going to look at exactly what to put in each section and how to write the letter. Okay, you all ready? Good. So this is taken straight off the IELTS website. It's exactly the kind of thing that you would get in the exam. So let's have a look at it. Good. General training, writing sample task 1A. This is a task 1. You'll have 2 tasks. This is the first one. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. Good. You're already thinking, okay, 2 minutes planning, 2 minutes reading, 6 minutes planning, 12 minutes writing. Great. Let's read the situation. You live in a room in college which you share with another student. However, there are many problems with this arrangement and you find it very difficult to work. Write a letter to the accommodation officer at the college. In the letter, describe the situation, explain your problems and why it is difficult to work. Say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. Can anybody see any similarities between what is given to me in my instructions and the plan? In my plan, I have description of situation, solution, and conclusion. So here as well, it's telling me to describe the situation. This is explaining my situation, and then say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. That's the solution or the action. We're told to write 150 words. That's about 2 short paragraphs, a greeting and conclusion. Quite short. Okay. In this example, we actually don't have to think of a greeting ourselves. It's already written for us. That's actually great. We don't even have to think about it. Very good. Let's look at in more detail now. So the first thing I want to do while I'm reading, in my first 2 minutes, I want to identify the type of letter that I need to write. So there are 3 types of letter that I could write: formal, semi-formal, or informal. Who am I writing to in this letter? Who am I writing to? I am writing to the accommodation officer. Yeah, so do we think this is going to be informal? Is the accommodation officer my friend? No, not really. Is it formal, like writing to an employer, or somebody that I want to get a job from? No, not really, because I probably know this person on a professional level. So it's semi-formal. It's still a professional context, but I already know them and there's already a relationship there. This is a very good table to help you identify whether it's formal, semi-formal, or informal. So let's look at the first type, formal. What is the purpose? For example, requesting information from a company. That's formal. Applying for a job. Very formal. I don't know the person at all. I want to make the best impression possible. Complaining to a bank, store, or airline, re a product or service. That's very formal. Making a recommendation or suggestion in a professional context. Now we have semi-formal, complaining to a landlord, explaining to a neighbour, or asking a professor for permission. Then informal, inviting someone you know well, thanking a friend, apologising, or asking for advice. So which one in this list of purposes are we doing today? What's the purpose of my letter? I'm complaining to a landlord, aren't I? I'm complaining to a landlord, so it's semi-formal. Good. This box can just help you to clearly identify what kind of letter you're writing. So I want to start with my opening. In this case, I've already got dear sir or madam, haven't I? So I know it's either semi-formal or formal, and I don't actually need to think of my own greeting. But in case in your exam you do need to think of one, I've given you some examples. So in a formal letter to someone you haven't met, whose name you don't know, it's always dear sir, madam. Always dear sir, madam. It's quite easy. And the ending will be yours faithfully. Good. Semi-formal to someone you may or may not have met, whose last name you know. Maybe you even know their first name, but it's a professional context. Then you could say, dear Mr. Brown, dear Mrs. Stone. If you know their first name, you could say, dear John. And then yours sincerely is a good ending for semi-formal. Informal, somebody you know well. You probably know their first name, and it's a really friendly context. Dear John, dear Anita, you can finish with best regards, warm wishes. There are other endings as well, but these are just some really simple ones. You can memorize them. Whatever kind of letter you get, you are prepared. Okay? So we've got our style. What is it again? Semi-formal. We're opening with dear sir, madam, which you can do in semi-formal as well. And when we come to the end, what ending will we use? Yours sincerely. Exactly. Good. So now I want to do an introduction. So after the greeting, open with a formal sentence. Even in an informal letter, a semi-formal letter, we want to open with a formal sentence. Yeah, we want to show this landlord we mean business. And it's a formal request, the thing that I am asking from him. So, state your purpose. You don't need to be too friendly because you probably don't know your landlord well, and he or she is a professional giving you a service. Okay, so good opening phrases you can use are, I am writing to inform you that, I am writing with regards to. Very formal sentence, brief outline of what you're going to talk about. I am writing with regards to my accommodation in college, which I hope you can help me with. One sentence, doesn't need to be longer, keep it formal. Good. What comes after the introduction? Can you remember? Yes, we have the description of situation. In the description, you are explaining your problem. In this letter, what is my problem? Let's go back to the description. What is my problem here? I am finding it very difficult to work. So use your imagination. The instructions are not going to tell me everything, but in student accommodation, I'm finding it difficult to work. What could the problems be? What could the problems be? Maybe my my housemates are being very noisy. Maybe they are being inconsiderate. Maybe the Wi-Fi isn't working. Maybe there's a construction site outside which works every night at 1 a.m. in the morning, keeping me up at night. Maybe the hot water doesn't work and it's making me very uncomfortable and I can't concentrate. Maybe my window doesn't close properly and it's always cold. Maybe the heating is broken. There's so many problems that you can imagine, and you want to note them down in your plan. Okay, so in my letter, maybe my main problems will be my housemates are noisy and the heating is broken. Okay, those are my two problems. And when I describe them, I want to be concise. What does concise mean? It means be very specific. Don't use long sentences. Don't say, my housemates are very noisy and it is very distracting because they are always talking, especially in the middle of the night, and I can't get to sleep because Gary is an awful housemate. No, too long. It's too long. We want to be specific and concise. Use set phrases. There are a lot of great English writing phrases to memorize, which we use all the time in written English. So memorize these phrases because they will help you so much. You can search English writing phrases in different situations. I'm going to give you some today, but you need to do more research to make sure that it's actually working, okay? And that these are the correct phrases for each situation. So, next thing, be polite. Yeah? We always want to make sure we're being polite. And especially when we're describing a problem, something that's going wrong, it's easy to sound like we're blaming the reader. We're saying it's your fault. I'm so angry. We don't want to do that. We want to just describe the situation. Be very polite and kind to the reader. So, useful writing phrases and words for this part of your letter, for describing the situation, is unfortunately, however, due to this situation. So, unfortunately, this is for when we have a bad situation, a problem. It's a way to soften the blow for the reader. It's a very polite way of introducing a problem. Unfortunately, I am experiencing problems with my accommodation. It's much more polite than I am experiencing problems with my accommodation. However is used to contrast two different situations. You could say, unfortunately, I am experiencing problems with my accommodation. However, although this is a bad situation, I am hoping you can help me. That would be a good way to move on to the next part. Yeah. However, it's always contrasting two things. Due to this situation, this is a very good connecting phrase. Due to this situation, this is a causal phrase. So you have a bad situation and the consequence, the effect of this is something else. So due to this situation, i.e. noisy housemates, heating is broken, I can't study. Yeah, bad situation and the effect of that situation. Good. These are just 3 really simple phrases you can memorize. They will improve your letter by so much. Okay, next section, the solution or action. This is where you suggest a solution to the reader. Again, we are being very polite. Politely suggest a solution. Same again, make sure you use common writing phrases. This will help to avoid sounding rude or accusatory. Yeah, so if we use these common phrases, they'll help us to sound polite and not to sound rude or like we are accusing the reader. Be reasonable and understanding. So, in this letter to my landlord, will I ask him to be transferred to a beautiful mansion on the beach in Spain? No. I'm going to be reasonable in my request. And am I going to say, you need to transfer me right now because it's your duty, it's what I pay you for? No. This person has a job, he or she also has problems of their own. You know, we want to be understanding. We want to understand that this might take time and that it's a difficult situation for both me and for the reader. Yeah? Great phrases to use. Perhaps it would be possible to. This is a fantastic way to suggest an action. What's a good example for this letter? Perhaps it would be possible to transfer to a different accommodation with fewer housemates. You're suggesting in a very kind and polite way. It's fantastic. Really good phrase. Now, what word is going to come after that phrase? Perhaps it would be possible to. Am I going to have a noun, a verb, an adjective? It has to be a verb, yeah, after to. Perhaps it would be possible to transfer me. That's a verb. Perhaps it would be possible to consider other options. Consider is a verb. Yeah, so make sure you use it in the right way. This phrase and then a verb. Good. Next phrase. I would really appreciate it if you could. I would really appreciate it if you could. This is fantastic to, again, suggest an action to your landlord. Yeah. So we're doing it in the politest way possible, aren't we? So what we really want to do, so I'm just going to change this so that I'm just going to share my full screen and then you can see the full PowerPoint, okay? So I'm just going to play again. Hopefully that's a bit bigger for you. Great. So the next one, I would really appreciate it if you could. Again, really polite, really useful to suggest an action. What kind of word will we have after this phrase? Noun or verb? Again, it's a verb, isn't it? I would really appreciate it if you could help me with this situation. I would really appreciate it if you could consider my situation. Yeah, again, a verb. Very good. Then we have, I understand that it may take some time. Oh, what's happened here? There we go. I understand that it may take some time. Here, this is really great because you're showing that you have empathy with the reader, that you understand. It's not just difficult for me, it's also difficult for you. Yeah, these are really good habits we want to get into. And when you move to the English-speaking country, this will help you so much. Learning to be reasonable, kind, and understanding in your writing. Good. So this is the solution or action. This is maybe the most important part because this is where you're getting your landlord to actually do what you want, aren't you? You're actually getting your landlord to do what you want. Yeah? So let's go on to the next section. Can anybody remember what the next section is? Can anybody remember what the next section is after solution? We have the conclusion. So now we're nearly finished. Nearly finished the whole letter. This part's super simple. Summarize, thank you, and say bye. Yeah? One sentence, and then you close. So you have already explained the situation and what you would like to happen next. Now this is a quick chance to say thank you and bye. Great phrases to use, as you can imagine. So again, you're linking it to the reader. You're showing empathy. You're saying, I know that you have problems too, so you can really understand what I'm talking about. As you can imagine, then what comes after this? Is it a verb? Is it a noun? It's not a verb this time. Here, this is one complete clause, so we want to move on to another part of the sentence. As you can imagine, this has been a very difficult time for me, and I hope it will change soon. Something like that. This is just a little introduction, as you can imagine. Then we have, I look forward to hearing from you. I actually use this probably in almost every email that I write. If you end up coming to the UK or New Zealand, English-speaking countries, you will always use this phrase. I look forward to hearing from you. It's a good one to memorise. It shows you want a quick response, and it's also very polite. So, fantastic one. I use it. Everyone uses it. You should use it. Okay. Then we have, thank you for taking the time to consider my concerns. It doesn't need to be exactly that sentence, but it's great to say thank you. It's really a really good habit. Yeah. So you can say similar thing. You can say thank you for taking the time to read my letter. Thank you for taking the time to consider my situation. Something like that. You're showing you're not just thinking about yourself, you really appreciate your reader. Very good. So what do we want to do in the conclusion? Little summary, thank you, and say bye. Can anyone remember what was a good way to sign off an informal letter? What was a good way to sign off an informal letter? Let's have a look. Yours sincerely. Yours sincerely is a really good way. You can also use yours truly. There are a few others you can use. Yeah, but if you want to just remember one, not worry with the others, yours sincerely. It's great. Okay, so before we go on to writing a letter together, let's just have a little review. So I want to plan. I've read my instructions. I've identified the type of letter I want to write. In this case, what was it? Was it formal, semi-formal, or informal? That's right, it was semi-formal. Now, I want to really get down to planning. What are the 5 sections? Or maybe 4 sections. Can we remember what they are? We have, first of all, really important, greeting. In this case, as we saw, they've already written the greeting for us. But you might have to write your own greeting. Yeah, so that's the first thing. What's the next one? Introduction. What are we writing in the introduction? Is it a whole paragraph? Is it just a phrase? Or is it a whole sentence? It's a whole sentence. Just one sentence is fine. Yeah, one sentence, a formal sentence explaining why you are writing. I am writing to blah, blah, blah. Next one. What's the next section? Describing the situation. Description of situation. I want to highlight the main reasons I have a problem in this context. My main points of concern, and yeah, be concise. Maybe about 3 sentences is good. And then I want to move on. What's the next section? Good. Solution or action. This is where I want to say to my landlord, in this case, come on, you need to do something for me. Yeah, I need something to change. But are you going to say it in an informal way? No. You want to respect this person. He's professional. He or she is professional. They're giving you a service. And you're saying in a very polite way, I would like this situation to change, and this is what I would like you to do for me. Probably similar length to description, maybe a little bit shorter, 2 or 3 sentences is great. Then we want to finish. This is quite short again. Conclusion, probably same length as your introduction, is just 1 or 2 sentences, short sentences. And what do you want to do in your conclusion? Can you remember? There are kind of 3 things that we want to do in our conclusion. We want to summarize. Yeah. What's the main thing that I've said in my letter? We want to thank the reader. Thank you for taking the time to read this letter. Thank you for considering my concerns. Maybe they weren't even considering doing anything for you. They were thinking, oh, typical student, I don't want to help her. I don't want to help Naomi because I've had enough of these students. And then they see your sentence, your beautiful sentence saying, thank you for taking the time to consider my situation. I am aware that you have many concerns, so I really appreciate that. They see that and they think, you know what? I am going to help Naomi. She said this in a really kind and polite way. Yeah, so the conclusion is where you can really be so polite and really get your reader to do what you want them to do, basically. Yeah. So we've got to summarize, say thank you. What's the last thing? The last thing we want to do in any letter, yeah, say bye. I want to say bye. In this case, we're going to say, what was it again? It was yours sincerely or yours truly. Yours sincerely or yours truly. Great, so we've got our plan. In your plan, I want you to write quite detailed points for each of these sections, yeah? So in your answer booklet, you'll have a lot of space, more than you need to write the letter. So take up a lot of space with your plan, because if you have a good plan, your letter will be so easy to write. Even at university, I went to university here in the UK, at Durham University. Even for my dissertation, which was 12,000 words, my professors said, Naomi, write a good plan. Spend longer on your plan than on your essay. Yeah, this is the best piece of advice I can give to you. Good, so happy so far? We've got 5 little sections, 4 without the greeting. So now we're going to get to writing your letter. Okay. Now, when you're practicing, which you should do a lot, by the way, you should practice a lot of letters in your preparation before your IELTS. You can look at your notes at the same time. Yeah, just as you're beginning to practice, you can look at your notes, think, right, what do I need in my introduction? What are good phrases? Same for the rest of the sections. When you get closer to the exam, it's good to do timed practice. So put your timer on, give yourself a past paper, give yourself 20 minutes, phone away, phone off, laptop off. Spend 2 minutes reading, identifying if it's formal or informal, then 6 to 8 minutes plan, then writing your letter. Be strict with your timing. Don't give yourself more than 20 minutes. This is just the best way that you can prepare for your exam. Then it is really important to have a teacher or an English speaker that you know, maybe a friend, that will look over these letters and say, this bit of grammar isn't quite right, or maybe you sound a bit rude in this part. Yeah, it's good to have somebody checking your preparation letters. Good, so let's get to it. We're going to write a letter. So I have got my instructions here, just like in the exam, so that I can refer back to them the whole time. And of course, in the exam, I'm actually not sure if they're doing exams on computers nowadays, but as far as I'm aware, usually they're always written. So you won't be able to use word count or anything like that. You need to get used to actually counting your words, because if you don't write 150 words, you will get your points marked down. Yeah, so you don't want to get marked down for not writing enough words. You might have written an amazing letter, spent so long preparing, and you've written 140 words. That would be such a shame, wouldn't it, to be marked down for that? So just be careful with that. Great. Let's start writing. So just like we were talking about, I'm going to start with a plan. We actually have almost 20 minutes left, so it's kind of perfect exam preparation. I've already read my instructions, so I'm going to get straight on with the plan. So I'm going to write plan. So what's the first bit in my plan? Greeting. They've already written that for me, so I don't need to plan that. It's already there. What's the next section? Introduction. Good. So what phrases shall I use in my introduction? Good opening phrases. Okay. I think I'm going to use this third one. I really like this one. I am writing with regards to. Yeah, I really like this one. So I'm going to already write this phrase because I know that I want to use this phrase. I'm writing with regards to, and then when I'm writing the actual letter, I'll write the full sentence. I can put maybe the situation, noisy housemates, heating not working. Okay. These are the main problems I've invented that I want to use in my letter. Okay, so that's my introduction. It's just one sentence. What was the next section? Describing the situation. Describing. So what phrase could I open with here? I'm going to start with unfortunately, because this is definitely a problem, isn't it? So I want to use a really polite way of introducing this problem. Unfortunately, and then I'm going to might write a bit of a almost full sentence. So I have been experiencing problems with my housemates and the heating at. So here, what did we say in the description? We said be specific. So, of course, I have to make it up. This is not true. But in college, it says, so I'm making it up, it's called Pembroke College. Let's say flat 2. Okay, specific. Then, because I'm just in the plan, I'm going to put some more details about this. So what could be specific details of the problems with my housemates? Let's put parties until 2 a.m. every night. Oh, that sounds fun, doesn't it? But can't do that in COVID times. Yeah, so this is a problem if you want to study, isn't it? Parties until 2 a.m. every night. Heating has been broken since. Yeah, can you see that I'm being very specific? My landlord needs to know the details because he's a professional. So heating has been broken since. Am I just going to say Tuesday? No, I'm going to say Tuesday, 2nd October. Very specific. Can even say 2020. Yeah. So since then, other little details I want to include. Outside, the temperature, and you have to be careful with your spellings because you won't have spell check. I was relying on my spell check there. Temperature is less than 10 degrees. Oh, that is cold, isn't it? Okay. I'm maybe going a little bit quicker than you might in your planning, but it's just because I don't want us to run out of time. Okay. In your booklet, make sure your planning is quite tidy, use bullet points. just like I might use bullet points like this. I just don't want it to be too small for you on your screen. Yeah, so I'm not going to use lots of bullet points, just so it's bigger on your screen. Yeah, but when you are writing, you can use lots of space, make it as big as you want. So that's my description part. What comes after description? What comes after description? Solution or action. This is where I want to get my landlord to do what I want. Yeah? And are we going to be a bit rude about it? No. We're going to be very, very polite. So, have solution or action. What phrases shall I use? I'm going to use this one. I would really appreciate it if you could. You might not want to write this all out in your plan. If you know them already, you might just write a very small part of the phrase to save time. That's fine. Okay. I would really appreciate it if you could let's say consider a transfer to another flat in Pembroke College. I'm actually going to be even more specific because a transfer, it's not really clear who that is about. So I'm going to say transferring me. Yeah, this is direct. I am saying exactly what I want the landlord to do, but I'm introducing it in a polite way, which means he or she is much more likely to actually do it. Good. I would really appreciate it if you could consider transferring me to another flat in Pembroke College. Then I'm going to use another polite phrase. I'm just making notes here. Understand this could take time. But, and then you can even add in something to give it a bit more urgency, make him do it quicker. As exams are soon, it would be great. These are just notes, not exactly perfect. If done. Yeah. Good. These are just my notes. Now, what comes next? We have the conclusion. Very good. So, what am I going to put in the conclusion? In the conclusion, I mentioned 3 little things. Summarize, thank you, and say bye. So I might conclude by saying, it might even be best to start with a thank you, really call their attention with a thank you. So thank you for, this is just a shortening for my notes. Thank you for time. And then look forward to hearing from you. Hope to resolve soon. Then my ending, what am I going to use? Yours faithfully. Okay, so I have my plan. As you can see, it's quite detailed, so it's actually going to be quite easy when it comes to writing the letter. Now, we have a few minutes, so I am going to quickly write you the letter. So I hope this has been helpful for you today. And for me, this is the best way to prepare for writing a letter, which, although you're preparing for your IELTS exam, you will use these skills all the time. So it's important to prepare really well. Right, I've already been given my introduction, haven't I? What was it? It was dear sir or madam. Okay. You will already have that written out in the test if it says that. Good. Dear sir or madam, in my plan, great, already has it there. Don't have to work too hard because it's already in my plan. That is good planning. I am writing with regards to my housing situation in Pembroke College, flat 2. Very good. Now, the description of the problem. I already know what I will start to. Unfortunately, I have been experiencing problems with my housemates and the heating at this flat. I've already mentioned the flat here, so I don't need to mention it again. I'm being very specific here. 3 of my housemates have been having parties until 2 a.m. every night. Whew, very late. Here, I'll directly link it, which has really affected my ability to study. The heating has also been broken since specific Tuesday, the 2nd of October, 2020. As the temperature outside is less than 10 degrees, I would maybe write the little C or F symbol. I don't have the degree symbol, but you can imagine it there. You can write it with your pen. As the temperature outside is less than 10 degrees, it has been extremely uncomfortable inside the flat. Good. That's kind of enough. I know I'm on the computer, but I'm just going to do a quick word count if I can do that. Let's have a little look. Let's see if we can do word count. Okay, I can't find it, but that's about right. Okay. Then we have the solution or action. What will I start with? I would really appreciate it if you could consider transferring me to another flat in Pembroke College. I understand this could take some time, but as exams are quickly approaching, it would be great if this could be done as soon as possible. Conclusion. Thank you for taking the time to consider my situation, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Yours faithfully, Naomi. Yeah, I can just use my first name. That's absolutely fine. Okay, this is just an example. You may actually have to write a little bit more, but this has just got some fantastic phrases. It's the right tone. It's semi-formal. And these kind of techniques of preparing are really going to help you. So I hope this session has been really helpful to you. And I wish you all the best of luck in your general IELTS exam. Bye for now. Let's end. Bye. Thank you.